Hi, I'm Christina, and I'm a disability advisor or disability coordinator at the university in Luleå.
And my name is Cecilia Falk, and I work as a teaching librarian at the university library, and I'm also responsible for the language support to students and for talking books, audiobooks to students.
Yes. And we are going to talk about a part of a course in the higher education, teaching in higher education, that we are responsible for. So we move on. Just a short background. We are from Luleå in northern part of Sweden. It's called Luleå University of Technology, and it was founded in 1971. And we have about 19,000 students, and of these 19,000 students, we have 9,000 on campus. And we have also 2 faculties, one philosophy and one technology. And of these 19,000 students, of course, all our students are, of course, very diverse. And there are all individuals with individual needs, and some of them have Swedish as a second language, for instance. Some have disabilities. We have mature students, and so on. But what we have recognized is that maybe they all maybe not have skills for academic studies.
They do have other skills,
yes.
Maybe not suited for academic life altogether.
Yes. And some of the students came to me as a disability advisor and said, why am I not succeeding? Why am I failing in all these assessments? And is it something wrong with me?
Right. And what about the teachers? Well, a lot of them are fairly young, they might be insecure. They might be new PhD students, and they are experts in their fields of research, but they might have no prior experience of teaching at all and no knowledge in teaching. So they have to face up with the difficulties of the group of widening access students. And sometimes you can almost hear the question that whether these students of the widening access should adapt to the university, or, as we think, the other way around, that the university should adapt to the students, of course, with whatever consequences that has. I can see that we have a very early version of our slide with a lot of mistakes in it.
Okay.
Don't look at it.
And there are also a wide range of learning styles, as we see. And maybe it's not considered in all courses. And I can tell you maybe that this picture is in a library. Students are studying in different ways, and there's also a teacher talking to the students also. And this is a picture of a thoughtful student who is new at the university, and she's thinking a lot what she's going to do, and it says, what has to be done? When shall I do it? Where should it be? With whom? Where should I be, excuse me? With whom? How should it be done? What do I have to do after this, and for how long? And we think that it's not a question of functionality or age or language or social background. It's about for us to create a good learning environment so that the students can feel secure and welcomed at the university. Because these questions, they have all these questions, all the students. That's how we see it.
But that might be easily said, but hard to do. And how can this be done, Convita? There is a pedagogical vision or idea at the University of Luleå, and this is just parts of it. And it's based mainly, you could say, on John Biggs. And one of his more famous words is that it's no use blaming the student when it goes wrong. And it isn't of any use blaming the teacher either, but focus on the learning activities, focus on the learning environment, and make it work for everyone. Then you'll get results. So education must inspire independent, active learning which challenges the ability of every individual to meet the future head on. So it should be flexible, and it should be based on the knowledge of each and every student. Knowledge of the students can and should be used to select and develop various teaching strategies. Words can be really nice sounding sometimes. So how to get this information out to the teachers, that's always the main problem. Not only the information, but in a meaningful context. Well, all newly employed teachers, and those are mainly PhD students at university, have to take a mandatory course in teaching in higher education of 15 credit points. And in this course, they learn about Biggs, of course, of constructive alignment, about the learning theories, flexible tools, activities, and whatnot. And then we were asked maybe 2-3 years ago,
I think.
Yeah, to have some hours, 2 or 3 hours, has varied through the years, about what we call inclusive teaching. We're going to call it universal design from now on.
Yes.
And this was our opportunity to get in contact with these teachers in a context where they would listen. And the goal was not to teach them how to do this, but just to create awareness of the diversity and to inspire them to look at it as a challenge to teach these students. Right?
Yes. And when we start our part of the course, we like to challenge the teachers and say, who is the normal student? What is that? Is there such a thing as a normal student? But it all ends up there. There isn't such a thing. Everybody is normal,
Yeah.
you can say. Variety is the norm.
All are different, you said.
Yes.
Yeah, I think.
Diversity is everywhere. And they all have, or we all have individual needs. That's how we are talking.
Mm.
Yes.
Right. So when we go into this course, we say that we are no experts either in teaching or UDL or whatever, but we do meet many students every day, and we look upon ourselves as their messengers. We can sort of transmit their voices to these teachers. And we ask the participants of the course beforehand to think of and define some concepts, words used, and reflect upon them. Whether you talk about learning disabilities or learning differences, is there a difference in those concepts? Accessibility, diversity, what does it actually mean in a teaching context? So they've done that when they come to our class. And also we found a list on the web, some British professor or whatever, I forgot to look at the source. I have it if someone's interested. He made a list of comments on problems or wishes from students, some with disabilities and some without disabilities. And we make the teachers define whether they come from students with or without disabilities, which is impossible because they're all problems that are common for all students. And the disability doesn't define the problem at all. And then we talk about legal commitments, Discrimination Act, which actually there was an accessibility added to one of the discrimination grounds recently in Sweden, a month ago, 2 months ago. And we inform them about the existing support for students and teachers. And as I said, the goal is to sort of change their attitudes from blaming to focus on activities or awareness. Nästa kan du ta. And so far, we've been giving them cases to discuss where we defined the problem. You have a dyslexic student, blah, 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 blah. And then they would discuss how to make a good class or learning environment in a course according to constructive alignment mainly. But then making constructive alignment according to learning outcomes, activities, assessments, and so on, flexible and accessible, that is UDL for me. Being proactive, being welcoming and engaging, and so on. And they discussed that in groups, but now we thought, just like you do, that we are going to divide them into groups, and they are going to define dilemmas in a teaching situation according to diversity. It might be gender, ethnicity, religion, age, or whatever, disability, of course, and then pass on their defined dilemma to another group who's supposed to then discuss the solutions. So we'll have maybe 5 groups working like this, having 5 dilemmas and 5 solutions to discuss together at the end of our hours. So we'll hope that will work.
And I've collected some student voices, and we have presented this to the teachers. And it says, for me who has dyslexia, it's really important to be well prepared and have the possibility to read through the lesson material in advance. Then I can save my energy and I learn easier. And as you all know, you can just cross over who has dyslexia. It's really important for everybody to be well prepared and be able to read the lesson material in advance. And the other one is, my note helper is so precious to me since I have a hearing disorder. I can relax during the lessons and I know that I'm getting good notes that I can read afterwards. And because cooperation is good, to cooperate is good for everyone. And the last sentence is, I get easily distracted due to my cognitive difficulties and mental health disorder. It's therefore important that I can make the exams in a separate room. Well, to make exams in a separate room or in a smaller room or in a variety of rooms or in a variety of ways, as the Flemish people also talk about blogging and so on, that's good for everyone, of course. So it's good for everyone. UDL.
Yeah. And we hope the teachers in the course will discover this. And we just wrote down some student wishes that we heard through the years. And when we show this list or in a context we talk about this, they might seem to have many wishes, and they seem to be demanding in the teacher's eyes sometimes. They talk about the demanding generation, but they are actually really, really important to listen to, all these wishes. The attitude of the teacher to be engaged and to listen to the students. Use the LMS or the whole virtual learning environment, publish in advance. Well, you know all this. Record lectures, which is actually done a lot at our university, and so on. It's good for everyone. And these demands are not too much, actually. And we made this reflection during the course that there are no shortcuts for learning for the students. It's hard work. And it's also hard work to be a teacher. There aren't any shortcuts there either. Right? So when we've done this 3 times now, I think, what did we learn from it? What are our, Kina's and mine, reflections? Well, the first thing we think about is that they do have a lot of questions, the teachers. They are really lost sometimes in teaching. And it's a very lonely profession to teach. They are very lonely, standing in front of the group or having responsibility for the group. And when you're lonely and you have a really big workload and you have little time for doing all the preparations, it's very easy to see the barriers and creating even bigger barriers than seeing the possibilities of all this. They are afraid of discriminating, they are afraid of lowering the quality, they are afraid of not doing too much or too little. And there is a huge need for meeting places for staff to really discuss these problems among professionals, among other teachers. Staff meetings and together with other people as well. But it's not really done at the university. Staff meetings there are too many of them, but they are not always concerning these kinds of questions. At least that's my experience. We do use a lot of ICT tools in flexible learning at the university, but they have to be used a lot more. And there are new teachers coming every semester. And still in the discussions, it's a lot of focus on teaching rather than focus on learning. So there's a shift that should be ongoing, but it goes very slowly, I think, or we think. And also, I don't know about your universities, but equal treatment policy and so on. Is it a paper in the university archive, or is it a living, discussed, debated paper at each department and for each teacher to discuss? We might have some wishes for improvements.
We can maybe, yes. We can invite Pia to come to us and have it
I think
UDL.
So. Right.
And this is a picture I'm sure that everybody have seen before. Please climb the tree. It's a teacher sitting in front of a few animals saying, for a fair selection, everybody has to take the same exam. Please climb that tree. And there's a monkey, a penguin, an elephant, and a fish, and so on. And I think this is really, it's such a good picture. And I saw a nice quote on the internet saying, if the elephant decides to take that tree down, everybody will pass. And that's teamwork. That's good.
That's good.
So, as a conclusion, we would like to end this session with a quote from one of our students who is visually impaired, and he is now a PhD student at our university. We use this a lot because he said this to us, and it's really good. He says, if the technology doesn't work perfectly, or if I might have to wait a bit for a book or any other material, it is not so bad. The most important and indeed crucial aspect is that the teachers care, that there is a sincere interest in me, and that we together can find solutions to my particular needs.
Right.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cecilia and Christina. Any questions or comments? Yeah, over here.
Hi. Hi, how's it going? My name is Trevor and I work in GIT, and I just found the points you made really interesting as I work in a disability service, and I do see a lot of young lecturers beginning, and they have common fears about, you know, discriminating against a student unfairly, and there is a need and a desire for them to learn. So within that, you know, I see where you're coming from, and just, I suppose I'm just wondering about, in terms of the training and the advice that you offer, like, do you supply like formal training to staff, or is it just on a one-to-one, very informal basis where you would inform lecturers about how to deal with diversity and learning challenges of students?
Actually, we don't do the training. Our goal is just to raise the awareness of ways to get out of the problem, so to speak, and awareness of the diversity. There is no one actually doing a formal training, either one-to-one or in the group. But in the context of the course of 15 credit points, based on this constructive alignment theory, this should be taken into account, since we have these hours with them and it's part of the course. But we don't follow up or prepare them in any other way, not the teachers, no. If they did come, we would welcome them.
Oh, of course. But also, a lot of the new teachers, they have no idea there is such a thing as a disability advisor or special educational support for students. So a lot of them are getting in touch with me afterwards, and they want to know more, and they, for instance, have students that have special needs, and so it's really good to also reach out in that way also.
Yeah. The first part of this 15 points teaching in higher education, they will have a presentation of all student and teacher support at the university, among others yours and the libraries and so on. And then we come in the second part with this, call it inclusive teaching or UDL or whatever we call it. But the doing it itself, we think that they, from the awareness created from our discussions together with them, they would be the experts in the group, not us.
Any other question?
Peter Bernick from Japan. I can imagine that students are not necessarily the only ones with disabilities, that sometimes you might have teachers who have some kind of special characteristics or something that make preparing lessons in, say, a universal design format or based on those concepts quite difficult. And is there a lot of support for teachers to, say, prepare lectures and things in the formats, different formats and things?
We do have a team for teaching in higher education, and so far there have been 4 ICT coaches or pedagogues, or what you call them, together with other staff well prepared for teaching, for support, either one-to-one or in groups or seminars or workshops or whatever. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just a comment, because I think that the dialogue between students and teachers are really important, because then each part can learn what is UDL.
That's
and
right.
what is efficient.
Yes.
Yeah. Any other questions? No. Then it will be a break for, yeah, thank you very much. Sorry.